It's time to take stock of where we are in this shot. We've used our 3Ps, patch, power mesh and paint to get rid of the wires that are free from the body and are over the body. But what about the wires that are revealed or covered by occlusions like hair? Now let's get into Silhouette and see where we are with our shot. Welcome back. As you can see in my node tree, I've been a little bit busy. So let's take a look at what I've done. So when we left, we'd already removed the top wires and the wires over on the right hand side. So I've just tightened up the rotor as I said I was going to, and if we take a little look here, the wires rotor in there, you can see as well as the main shape that I've got to take the wires out, I've created two other shapes. I've created a hair strand shape that goes across, cutting out the hair strand, and I've created a hold-in shape here as well that just fits a little bit tighter to the body. So we're getting some more of the rest of the dress there. So we're only really taking out the skin and the wire that goes over the top of it. Take a look at the alpha channel on that. There we go. So we see these have just been set to invert. You may have noticed that I used the channels output to pipe the alpha from the roto node into the composite. Now, you can just use the main roto output as well, as that also contains the alpha channel. And if we take a look now, I've done something very similar to the wire bottom left, 71 to 101, like I said I was going to. There we go. And that's exactly the same technique as we used previously. So power mesh, painting out a single frame, power meshing it back in. I've cropped it in, but I've cropped it in using a domain of definition. Same basic idea. Just isolate where those are going to be. But there we go. We've just done the same sort of thing. And I have also come in and rotoed that in the same way as well. So we've got the main wire roto going over the top, and then a hold in for the dress over on the other side. Now the hair's coming over, but because it's coming over past frame 71, then I don't really mind too much about it. I haven't made any shapes for the hair. And then I've comped that back in over the top. We can see that fitting in there quite nicely. Now the thing to look out for is up at the shoulder here. Now notice I haven't been too careful about what I've been doing with the shoulder. You can see that sort of stretching out a little bit there. And the reason for that is a fairly straightforward one. And that's because I've got a separate one for the shoulder going from frames 55 to 101. Again, exactly the same kind of idea. So let's take a look at the composite there. Actually, we'll take a look at the power mesh there. Still frame power meshed in, but this time only covering the shoulder. And the reason I did that is that the movement of the shoulder was different enough that it deserved a separate shape. And also look at the frame range. I can go a lot further back with the shoulder, frame 58, than I could with the other part of the back, which was only frame 71. This means less work for me to do manually later. And let's have a look at how that's comped in. There we go, and comped in obviously with same sort of roto shapes, giving me the blend shape between the shoulder and the back section. So when we bring all of these things together, we're going to get a nice crossover between the two sections. Okie dokie. Excellent. So that's where we are so far. So what does that leave us with? Let's go back to the original picture and just see what we still need to do. Well, the biggest issue we've got now are the areas where the wires go over this sort of place, this sort of area. And this is actually quite tough. And the reason for that, obviously, is because we've got tons of hair crossing over It's nice sort of big curls of hair. So it's not like one big splat. It's all these little ringlets, which look great, but obviously are a lot tougher for us to deal with. Now, obviously, there are going to be several different methods of doing this. And I think I'm going to go with one where we create up a patch like we've done before, but we then mix in different ways to try to create an alpha channel over the hair strands to see what we can do there. What I'm trying to do at every single stage of this is to do as little manual paint work as possible. You know, I said it's right at the very, very beginning. If we're doing frame by frame paint, that can get incredibly difficult to do and to keep consistent. So if we get lots of flickering frames, that's going to give the game away. So let's get our big patch in here and see what we can take from that. And I'm going to reuse some of the stuff we've already got. So if we come to the top wire roto removes area here, let's move some of this out of the way a little bit. This actually has a lot of the stuff that we need. It's got the mega plate, the clean area, and we've also got, there we go, we've got the transform data as well. So this is going to be a nice clean plate. So I can start to build a little bit off of this. Rather than sort of redo a lot of work, we can just build off of this section here. So let's line this up and figure out what we're going to do. Okay, so I'm going to take another composite node. I'm going to bring this outside just so that we've got something outside the group so we know what we're working on here. And I'm pretty much going to do the same as we did previously. So I'm going to hook in the original on one side and hook in the mega plate on the other side. Let's come in and create our big patch. And to do that, what we're going to do, well, yep, we're going to use another roto node. As we can see, like a ton of this wire remove stuff doesn't have anything to do with paint at all. We're getting our roto chops in instead. With that in mind, what's the first thing I want to do here? Obviously, I want to track this through. I mean, we've already created a couple of different tracks for this sort of area, but we can't actually use those because they're for different frame ranges. But I'll use a similar technique. And I'm just going to probably just use a point tracker, I think, because I don't need anything clever. So just create a point tracker up, and I'm just going to move that around about there. To be fair, it doesn't really matter where we have our center because we're just using this to drive a layer. We'll set our behavior to track in every frame and track that through. There we go. I've got a little bit of a bump there. Let's have a look what that bump's doing. Is that an actual bump or is that? Oh yeah, that's just where the compression goes really bad. So it kind of can't figure out exactly where it's meant to go. So let's just move that a bit more into place. So we've got a nice smooth motion. That makes sense? Yeah, I suppose that does. Cool. We could always use the smooth there, but I think we've got a good enough grasp of things anyway. And we'll just track that backwards. Excellent. And I'm just going to apply this. And because I don't have a layer there, I'm using Silhouette 2021. It will create a layer for me automatically. In earlier versions of Silhouette, you would have to create a layer to have that applying to anything. So we'll just call this one back because that's really what we're doing with it. There we go. So let's stabilize this up. Stabilize this on the active layer. Let's have a little look. Yeah, it's just cancelling out the movement of our actress as we go through here. So I'm going to make big shapes, stretching far beyond what I need. And just making sure that we're cutting out everything here. I'm not worried about the hair. We're going to come back to the hair. The hair we can deal with as its own separate thing. I just want to make sure that everything here is fitting in nicely. Now it's just a case of rotoing this up. Find the arcs of the animation, and I'm going to use the transform tool for the main part just to bring this into place, and then I'll use my brush reshape just to reshape the rest of this. Brush reshape has certainly become my my favorite of the tools to work with here. It's just so fast and easy just to bring everything where I need it to go. I don't want to cut out skin, but I don't mind about cutting out hair because we're going to bring that back in. But skin and the dress we need to be a bit careful about. Again, use transform, T to transform that in, and R to bring us back into the reshape tool. If you're using the regular reshape tool, R will cycle you through. So R takes you from reshape to magnetic reshape to magnetic brush, or to reshape brush. There, I think that's the first frame where we can see wire on this side. So that's 16, frame 16. Set our work range. I'm a huge fan of work ranges. It just focuses your mind a lot more. There we go. This one I can't even really do much with this point here. Probably easier just for me to transform that in just with the regular reshape tool. We're going to take this to about frame 71 because that's where everything else picks up. There is going to be, I'm going to warn you now, there is going to be some crossover, and I know there's going to be some extra stuff we have to do there, but not a problem. Now watch what's happening here. Watch the edge of this, because I'm rotoscoping to the edge of the back. I'm not rotoscoping to the edge of the dress. And that's because this is a separate shape. So we're going to bring that shape in afterwards. I'm just taking a look now and just seeing if I've missed any big areas. Okay, it looks like we've covered the wire quite nicely there. Let's see if we have. I'm going to pipe my roto into the composite. I probably want to invert that. So let's come back there, invert that there. I'm doing this just to see whether I've got, well, two things actually, to see whether I need to do a bit more paint, and I do, and just to see whether I've got all of the wire removed. And it looks like I do as well. Before we get anywhere else, let's fix that paint up. Let's come back into our paint node from way back. Come to the frame that we painted in. It's just over here, isn't it? It's just this bit there. So let's take our big drag brush, make sure everything's set up nicely, and just go drag. Hey, look at that. Come back into the composite. And it's like magic. Okay. See, there's a little bit of a color difference towards the end. But that's fine because we're going to be blending that together. No one's going to notice that. It's going to be fine. Let's take a pause now. We've got this section looking pretty clean by recycling a lot of useful data from other nodes. We also saw how using this nodal workflow creates a huge amount of flexibility if we need to make changes upstream. For example, to paint in more of the clean plate. I actually have a horrible feeling I'll need to revisit that paint again to do more work on it later, but that sounds like a problem for future Ben. In the next section, we're going to be bringing back the important elements that we've removed here. So join me in part 10 for some great tips for hair roto.